Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to today's podcast in association with White Moose Media. Moose on the Loose, it's called, in case you didn't know. My guest today is somebody who I suspect is a lot more comfortable in front of the camera than I am. It's my very sister, the lovely Elaine and I. Hello, Elaine and I. How are you?
Didn't we say that?
Oh, you don't like the word Elaine and I?
No, because
All right,
what
okay.
do Mum and Dad
Well,
call
look,
me?
Elaine and I. Mum and Dad always said Elaine and I.
They didn't. They just say Elaine.
Okay. Sometimes it was Elaine and I, but it's always a term of endearment as far as I see it. It's a term of endearment. So.
Okay.
So, folks, today we are going to talk about a subject that might be a little bit challenging at times, but it's something that I do feel we need to talk about because, you know, we need to normalize being adopted. We need to remove the stigma because there's a lot of stigma surrounding it. So this podcast is going to talk about how both your good self and yours truly were adopted and various different aspects of our life, including the reading of a letter, giving some information on my birth family. And Elaine is going to read that out to me in some time. But firstly, let's just talk about our early life in 5 Greenmount Road, Terranure, Dublin 6.
You were the most spoiled
4909-285.
Shh, don't give out our home address and phone number.
Remember you used to ask,
4909-285.
Oh, don't give it out. It doesn't exist anymore.
I remember
4909-285.
I remember all my friends from school, their phone numbers. I can't say that, but I know them all by heart. And
So do I, yeah.
I don't know one person's except for yours, their mobile phone number.
Isn't that mad?
I know nobody's.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's the only number. Those are the only numbers you had to remember. But I suppose that's why everyone said it when they answered the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember, Dad didn't want us answering the phone. So now, Paul, if you're identifying your number. Well, yeah, Dad, they did call it, you know. They kind of know what it is. Anyway, look, let's go back to our early life. So from my point of view,
you were a very, very spoiled, indulged child. I will say that to start off with.
Were we not all?
You especially. But it's okay. It's fine.
Well, I dispute that. I mean, were you not all equally spoiled?
No. It was, first of all, Mum and Dad really wanted to have a child. And then you were the first that came onto the scene. Mm-hmm. And I think they just were so obsessed with you and showered you with such attention and love and took photographs and did everything based around Paul. And then they had 2 more girls, and the girls were kind of similar in age, similar gender, like the same, 2 girls. So it was kind of Paul and then 2 years later, 2 girls, kind of nearly so close in age, they were nearly twins. So Irish
don't agree
twins.
with that at all. But it's how you interpret it. Did you feel like you didn't feel less loved?
No, I didn't at all. But I did feel like I did think that you got a lot more attention. Now, I think that's with the eldest boy in a lot of families. That the eldest, and the fact that you're a boy got you, or, you know, a lot more attention was put on you. And maybe a lot more pressure, a lot more focus in a negative way maybe also. It was all like when Paul had the junior cert, it was like, you know, the end of the world. When I had it, Joanne had it, it was just like, whatever. Do they need to do those, or we go down to Ackle? So it was more, everything was about you. It was all about you. So I think that has had a profound effect on you as a person, that you're used to getting attention, you're used to getting your own way in the nicest possible way. And yeah.
I remember the way Mum and Dad always dealt with, because look, okay, Mum and Dad, for whatever reason, couldn't have, you know, kids. They did have a child who called Jimmy, who's now buried in the what do you call it?
So Glasnevin.
Glasnevin, but what's it called? There's something, the angels.
I don't know what it's called.
That was a very sad situation. So then they adopted me, they adopted you, and then Joanne came along naturally. But we were always told that we arrived on the scene. We were never told that
When
we
you
were
were
born.
born. Yeah.
So it must have been a very difficult task for mum and dad to decide, okay, look, how are we going to handle this? When are we going to tell them? And from my memory anyway, I believe that it was handled perfectly, because I never remember a specific time where mum and dad said, okay, Paul, sit down there on the couch now. We're going to, you're a little bit different to Joanne. I never remember that. Do you?
No. It was too young to tell you. So it was before you could even understand what the concept was. So that meant they didn't have to explain it. So it was sort of naturally there before you even realised.
And I think that's really hats off to mum and dad.
Yeah.
Because I do think that finding out that you were adopted at a certain age, like let's say if they'd waited until we were 12 or 15.
I know. I think that would be very difficult for people who don't know the whole time.
Yeah. And the other thing I think it's important to say now is that kind of like from my memory, we had a fairy tale upbringing, and mum and dad couldn't have been better parents.
Yeah.
Would
Do
you
remember,
agree with that?
Except when you cried on Christmas morning when you were 11 because you didn't get enough presents.
What?
You did. And I remember.
So hang on a minute. You're younger than me.
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Sorry. So you were 9 at the time, and you remember me crying on Christmas morning.
It was like you were like that. So, and that's when I realised how spoilt you were, and it was concerning, honestly.
What
And Mom
present did I not
said,
get?
You just didn't get enough. There was just no. You were. So, I mean, I think you might have been spoiled a bit too much. You weren't sort of I think you were just lavished with gifts and attention.
Gold,
Silver,
frankincense, and mirth, and I was
no,
bathed in
I think there was
milk
too
of
much.
camels.
Honestly,
no,
I only know as a middle child, and middle children usually can tell these things. Joanne, the youngest, no attention. Unfortunately,
Really?
no, none.
Elaine, I really don't remember that time.
I remember distinctly because Mom said to you, Paul, don't be upset, Dad. We don't want Dad to be upset that you're upset. And then a few minutes later, Dad said, Paul, don't be upset because you'll upset Mom if you get upset. And then Joanne and I, the two younger ones, said to you, Paul, will you just stop it? You're upsetting Mom and Dad. So you were kind of... I realised then you were a little bit too spoilt because even though, I mean, we got so many presents, but even I knew if I didn't like my presents, that I wasn't going to show it. But you didn't care. You were just like, I thought I'd get more. That's exactly what you did. And it was a bit like... He's really spoiled.
Okay, well,
Maybe you were addicted to presents. You didn't get enough. You needed another dopamine hit of another present.
A lot of rubbish. But what I do remember from you, Elaine, was, and it was, seeing as we're talking about Christmas, like I think you stopped believing in Santa way before me, because Elaine was the type of person, and it's no surprise that Elaine is a journalist, and she likes to ask questions, and she likes to find the truth, and she likes to,
get to the bottom of things.
Get to the bottom of things.
I don't like being deceived or any deception.
But there was one Christmas Eve where
I decided to wait up.
Elaine waited up, and Mum and Dad had put her to sleep.
No one.
And they tucked you in. We were tucked in as kids.
Night.
Do you know what we did as kids? We were tucked in, and we had to say our prayers. What was it? With teeth, prayers, and something.
Okay.
No, this is something you don't want to talk about. There was a ritual we used to do every...
Teeth, wheeze and bed.
Teeth, wheeze and bed. And bed consisted of us all kind of
No, it meant go to the bathroom, go to bed.
Yeah, but remember that we had to say our prayers.
We all would kneel down by our bed and say a prayer, a Hail Mary.
Holy God, please bless Mummy and Daddy,
Elaine, Paul and Joanne.
Auntie Kathleen, Uncle Jack. Which
we don't need to do it now.
Yeah, well, Auntie Kathleen.
I think lots of people.
Yeah, a lot of people. But I'm just trying to recite the yeah. Anyway,
you have it on we have a camcorder.
Yeah. But like that was drilled into us every single night, to the point that at the age of 43, we still remember it. Elaine, Paul, and Joanne.
I'm not 43, thanks.
I'm 43.
Oh, well, let's just be clear.
But anyway, so Elaine that night, Mum and Dad thought she was in bed. And
no, I probably spoke to them and I would have said to them, look, there's something going on here. I'm on to you two, and I'm not happy that is Santa Claus real or not? And they would have said, my mum would, remember how she would have said it, Santa Claus is real, Elaine.
With a bang on the table for every syllable. Santa Claus is real. But that was more
but how
Annie and Ellie.
Does he get to I didn't understand it, and it didn't make sense to me, and I was like pretty sure. I was like, my friend's house down the road and there's somebody else's house. Logistically, there's all these, something wasn't adding up. And the more they sort of tried to persuade me, and I think I'm sure I went up to the attic to look for presents and all that kind of thing, and I decided to wait up. And the words were, when I saw Mum and Dad sneaking out of bed, gotcha. Gotcha.
Jesus Christ.
I actually said it. Gotcha. And they said, I think then they had to tell me. Did they have to tell us all?
But don't tell your brother and sister. Something like that.
I feel really bad.
But when I was actually...
They should have just slipped me a sleeping pill and made sure I didn't wake up.
Okay. When I was a kid, though, just when we're talking about Santa Claus, what I could never understand was how, when you went to the Santa Claus in Nook Grove Shopping Centre, he had a Dublin accent. I was like, but you're supposed to be from the North Pole.
No,
and then Santa Claus the movie would have an American accent, and then
I think that we were told, which was quite clever, that's actually one of his elves. And then you kind of felt you were being let in on a secret, and you were like, okay, the younger ones can think that's Santa, but we know. And I think I used to say to the Santas, I know you're just an elf.
Whisper, I know you're not the real man. Okay, I know. Some others don't, but I know.
But remember,
your secret is safe with me, Santy.
Do you remember in the kitchen one year, Santa rang us on the phone?
Oh, ho, ho, yeah.
That was very exciting.
Who would that have been?
David Darmody.
No, I don't think so. David is my mum's brother.
I think it was him.
Was it?
Yeah.
Do we know for a fact?
No. We don't know who it is, so we can't confirm. He could have gotten away with it.
He could have.
I thought that we really believed he rang us out of everyone.
Oh, I definitely believed him. But like, again,
what age were we?
How many children, how many millions or billions of children?
See, when you're young, you don't realise there's that.
What would his phone bill be like?
Always a good No, he only rang us out of everyone. He chose us.
We were the special kids.
Because Dad knew somebody who knew somebody. And then they were like, he's ringing a few people.
We were in the know. But so is it any wonder then you went on to do journalism? That was kind of, you were always inquisitive and questioning.
But you know what? You used to be, and this still happens to this day, that Mum and Dad will confide in you and to tell you things prematurely before they make more bigger announcements. So you were always my
informant,
my mole.
Is that not part of? Is that just like the eldest child? That's just because I'm the other.
So were you treated differently?
No, but I mean, no, I might have been. Well, look, I was more mature.
You were not. We were certainly a lot of things, but you were not more mature.
Definitely
Mr.
not.
Crying on Christmas Day.
I still have the maturity of a teenager.
I suppose I felt a bit jealous that they would confide in you things and not. But then I'd get it out of you anyway.
So let's move to a different subject. Moving swiftly on. So this kind of, you searching for information and looking for the truth kind of transferred over into another element of our childhood,
there was sort of,
which is a little bit more sensitive, I guess. So, like, we'll talk about this, but if at any point you want to roll it back or you want to just stop, we don't need to. We can go as deep or as shallow into this as you want.
I knew
But
there
talk to me about.
I knew there was information in the attic, and I thought to myself, in this house, there must be some information, some paper, some official documents, something in reference to what happened. And I was like, it has to be. Where would they keep it?
In reference to your adoption.
Yes, and to yours, to your adoption.
Our adoption, yeah.
Yes, I knew somehow that there was sort of, Dad had not an office upstairs, but he kept files and things upstairs. And we used to go up and play in the attic. And there was all these grey, huge 1980s style that you'd pull out.
I was always scared of the attic, to be honest with you.
You were scared of the attic. I was not scared of the attic. And when we had lots of sweets up in the attic and we'd people over, who'd go up and retrieve the sweets for us all? I did.
Okay. I don't remember that at all. But anyway, okay. Sounds like great fun. I was scared. I thought the bogeyman was up there.
You were scared.
I did think the bogeyman was up there.
What even is a bogeyman?
Something scary.
Something sinister.
Represents, and you know what, in many ways, maybe he was. But keep going.
Very, very metaphorical. Yeah, so I went up to the attic and I was 11 years old and I thought, there's got to be some information somewhere. And there was 2 files. Obviously they're going to be, and it was only 2. I pulled them open, went through file by file. Maybe there was bills and bank statements, boring stuff. Yeah. Who cares? Throw it all away.
Yeah. And leave it really untidy. Don't put anything back the way it was.
I would have put it back exactly. And then I found St. Louise's Adoption Society letter and I was like, bingo. I've gotcha. My favourite expression.
So, taking gotcha to another level.
Yeah, this time it was more serious.
Well, I would think so.
So I went through everything. I don't know, it was an evening, I think around 7 in the evening. And then I would have brought it to you and said...
So where was I? Was I not part... This wasn't a mission that we were both on?
No, it was just me. I didn't tell you about it. And then you would have been downstairs. I'm just guessing you were downstairs with everyone. I don't even know what day it was, the day of the week. And later on that evening, I brought it to my room and then I said, Paul, come here, I have something to show you. And I remember you looking at it all going, I wish you didn't show me this. I didn't want this. And I felt bad, but I didn't foresee or think that you may be more sensitive.
Well, look, I wouldn't have wanted to know, at that point in my life. What age do you reckon we were?
I was 11. I'd say you were 13.
Okay. I would have thought it was a bit younger than that. But let's say I was 13. I was still a very immature, child, pretty much.
Well, you're a kid, yeah.
Yeah. But I wouldn't have... So my memories of that moment were... I was pretty much traumatized. Because this fairy tale family that we had was now... The bubble was bursting in front of me. But
you knew you were adopted, so...
I did, but I didn't see it in black and white. It was... I didn't know I was adopted. But you know what? I didn't know I was adopted. Of course I knew I was adopted. But that's not how it was fed to us. It was fed to us like we arrived on the scene. We were equally
you were 13. You knew.
I was a child.
Knew.
I knew.
You knew.
But I had never seen it in black and white. So you opened the file. And what do you remember being in that file?
An application to request placement or something to that effect of a boy.
Okay, so that all related to me?
Yeah. So they requested a boy.
Okay. So, as it turns out, that file is now at my right foot. And it's all here. And a letter that was within that file is now in Elaine's possession. And we're going to read it out now.
Right. I just noticed It's dated 21st of January 1982, which is strange because you
2
were
years after I
born
was born, yeah.
in
1980.
29. Yeah. So, why do you think that is?
I don't have no idea.
Do you think it was just late? Like back in those days, it was hardly.
Probably just as bad as these days. So much bureaucracy and red tape and all that kind of stuff. I don't know, but look, I don't
So
think
there was
I don't think
this
the 2 year
letter,
delay is really
and
important.
there's not even, like, it doesn't say. It's from the social worker whose name
Can be said.
is Anne Valentine. And what's mum and dad's name?
Yeah, this is really kind of
Is it synchronicity or is it a coincidence? What do you call it?
synchronicity. Yeah, I do. Well, I believe in that kind of shit. I do. I do believe that there's. I don't necessarily believe in God, but I believe in something, and I do believe that everything happens for a reason, and I do believe in synchronicity and stuff like this. And there's like Anne Valentine being the name of the social worker looking after my case, and mum's name Anne, dad's name Valentine was a bit coincidental, if not more.
Huge coincidence because
Yeah.
it's not a common name.
No. But anyway, do you want to read out?
Yeah. 21st of January 1982, Mr. and Mrs. V. Stenson. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Stenson, I'm pleased to enclose the following background information on Paul's first parents. It's an unusual. I've never heard of that before.
You would have expected biological.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that you'll be able to answer his questions as he learns of his adoption. Bridget, Paul's mother, was 25 at the time of his birth. She is the eldest in a family of 10 children born to her parents. Bridget's own birth was premature by at least 8 weeks. That's not that much. 2 months premature.
I think in not 1980. That's when I was born.
7
This is
months.
like, this would have been 1955.
Oh, Bridget's. Oh, okay.
So I
okay.
think in 1955, 8 weeks prematurity is a lot. Vis-a-vis like nowadays. So I don't think the services or the facilities would have been. Anyway, look, the long
Okay.
story. Keep going.
She weighed but 1 pound 14 ounces and spent the first 6 months of her life in hospital. Her
So
normal
sorry, just 2 seconds. 6 months.
6 months of her
So
life.
not 6 weeks.
6 months.
So 6 months.
6 months, yeah. Her normal development was somewhat curtailed, and Bridget had learning difficulties in school. She attended the local national school in the seaside town where she was reared, leaving at the age of 14 to work in a factory. Bridget is described as a pleasant, kind girl who laughs easily. She's 5'1" in height, weighing 9 stone and of stocky build. She has black hair with some premature greying. Bridget's eyes are hazel.
Same as me.
Like you, yeah. She had eye surgery for the correction of a squint as a child and is supposed to wear spectacles. Bridget likes to listen to records and enjoys knitting. She is fond of children, and Paul is her 4th child. She cared with the help of her parents for an older boy and girl, having placed her 2nd son for adoption. Bridget thought that she would be unable to give Paul the care that he needed. She loved him and cared well for him while he and she were in St. Patrick's Home, Navan Road. She has said that if Paul should wish to meet her when he is old enough to know exactly who she is in relation to him, contact may be initiated through St. Louis Adoption Society. Paul's father was Sammy, they say, aged 32 years. He was working in the post office in the town where Bridget lived and resided in his uncle's house there, his parents being dead. His relationship with Bridget was without any commitment to marrying. Sammy is described as of fair colouring with blue eyes and black hair. He's 5'3" approximately in height and of thin build. Bridget described him as shy and a kind person. Sammy likes to play football and took an interest in horse racing. Paul was born in St. James's Hospital, Dublin 8 at 11:15 on June 29th, 1980. He weighed 8 pounds 10 ounces. On July 5th, 1980, he was christened at the request of his mother, and in her presence, Bridget retains a photo of Paul in his christening robe. Bridget participated fully in Paul's placement with you as adoptive parents. She sought Paul's security in your home. With every good wish, yours sincerely, and Valentine, social worker.
Wow.
So you've read that before.
I have. And actually, you know what? Reading it now at the age of 43,
Yeah.
you know, it's a nice letter. But reading it at the age of 13, it took its toll on me. It really, like, for a long time. I mean, I'll never forget
So
it.
was that the kind of first time you realised you were really adopted?
Well, it's the first time I see in black and white.
That it's real?
Yeah.
It felt real?
And yeah, like, I later went on to, so because of my addiction, I guess when I, you know, one of the questions I have always asked myself is, does that mean I can drink? Okay, I was always finding a way to justify being able to drink normally, and of course,
Does that mean I can drink, as in drink alcohol?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Does that mean I can drink?
Well, look, throughout my 20s and 30s, I started understanding that I had a problem with alcohol. So the voice in your head kind of tries to justify why you can drink. And that's the disease. It's on your shoulder constantly saying, I'll go on. You can because. So I always had this question in my head, can I? And the reason I went on to find out, I needed to find an my identity. So in 2012, I went and met a social worker who, again, read this out to me. And, you know, she kind of explained the intricacies of the situation. Bridget was intellectually disabled, and I had 4 siblings. And I guess my ego got in the way back then because, or did it? Like, I was painting a picture in my mind's eye of an intellectually disabled person and thinking, you know, what would a meeting be like with somebody like this? And I was thinking that, you know,
You didn't want to know.
I regret it because it's now too late. She's dead. And, you know, like, if there was ever a way of finding an identity, it would have been to actually meet her, and I can't do it anymore. So it is a regret that I have. And I guess why I'm doing this podcast is to try and tell people, it's to normalise adoption and to remove the stigma, but it's to let other people know, look, don't let it be too late. Just do it. Seize the moment. Carpe diem. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I do feel that my ego got in the way. It was like, what would it be like going into the room? Like, and, you know, it never happened because of my ego. And I regret it.
So you didn't get to meet your birth mother, and it is a regret. And
Of course.
It's very sad.
It's extremely sad.
Yeah.
If I could turn back time, I would have seized the moment back in 2012 and just did it, because you know what? She wanted to meet me.
Can I say, you may still not have done it if you didn't do it for that time. You had the opportunity. So what do you think would be different now? Do you think just because the opportunity's gone that now you regret it? Or do you think...
No, I just feel that I'm in... So again, like, I was too shallow. Like, it was all about, you know, I was making the intellectual disability kind of a big deal. And I was concerned about how maybe her inability to deal with meeting me would affect me, and it was all about me, and it was my ego. I should have just said, look, this is how my mum is. You know, I should just gone in there and even hugged her and not cared about how, you know, like when you say somebody has an intellectual disability, to me that I don't know what that actually means.
But it could mean so many things. It just could mean a learning disability, because if she had 4 children, or was it 4 or 5 children?
5.
She had a job, she went to school, she had, you know, a love interest.
Well,
and then there could only be a certain amount of disability there to have that level of a normal life, so
Yeah.
to speak. So
see, the letter says one thing, but my meeting with the social worker, she had a lot more information to hand.
okay,
And let's say what she said to me in the meeting was kind of more of a focus on the intellectual disability than the letter. And I was playing this video in my mind about, you know, what that might look like, knowing other people who may be, you know, disabled in some shape or form, and thinking, you know, it was all about me though. And I like, it's too late now. And, you know, if I could turn back time, or if anybody, like, I know it's a pretty unique situation to be in,
yeah,
but look, for anything as important as this, like it's your birth mother, I would say seize the moment and just do it.
yeah.
And get that sense of,
But you did meet a sibling,
I met a sibling, yeah.
and she looked like you.
And she looked very like me, and she was into fitness, which I was. And obviously that would have been when I was 32, so my hair was thinning, so I was kind of scared of losing my hair, and that was another question I asked her, and she said, yeah, a lot of the people in the family would be thinning, and they just shaved their head as well. And that's how I am now, obviously. But
And how did you feel after when you met her? Like, what was the moment like when you saw her?
I saw her in me, but there was a sense of,
You saw you and her.
sorry, I saw me in her, visually, like facially,
And where did you meet her? Like, where was it?
in a hotel outside Dublin, with the social worker.
And was it emotional, or was it just like, hello?
I tried to, like, I was quite detached from it emotionally. I tried to kind of deal with it as a kind of almost a business meeting. I didn't want to get sucked in, because look, when you're meeting a birth sister like this, you don't know, are you opening up Pandora's box? You don't know what's, you know, and I just didn't want to get too deep so that I wouldn't be able to get back out.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, okay, these are the facts, very black and white. A couple of questions. Lovely to meet you. Maybe I'll meet the mother. I'm not going to say my mother, just going to the mother. But for the moment, this is good. And when I build up the strength, maybe I'll actually meet the mother. And obviously, I that never happened. But so she was one of 5 siblings. She was the third. The first was kept. The third was kept. The second was put up for adoption. The fourth, me, put up for adoption. The fifth also put up for adoption. And I know the second.
It's very hard to kind of hear this, like, which one was kept and which one was given up for adoption.
Well, the first and third had the
It's
same
just-
father. I was a different father. But the second, I know.
It's kind of it just sounds eeny, meeny, miny, mo. It's just, it's.
No, I wouldn't. I
know,
wouldn't say
but-
that. I wouldn't reduce it to something like that at all.
It's
I'd
just-
say there's. Look, I can only imagine for Bridget and that side of the family, and I'm conscious that some of these lovely people could be listening, and I don't want
Yeah.
to offend anybody's sensitivities at all, and I'm sorry if I have, but I know, for example, the second child who was given up for adoption. He needs support. He has a social worker with him 24/7, like Bridget did. So, and he has, I believe, drug and drink issues, and that's to even hear that was like, okay, I need to be careful here.
But that's really upsetting, yeah.
So, then the fifth one.
And are you in touch now with your the biological sister that you met?
No, because look, there was always this worry of betraying mum and dad, our mum and dad, and I never wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And although strangely, my brother has reached out, but I can't go there.
Why?
Because it's just not the right time. It's just.
But did you not just say to people that it's carpe diem and it is the right time and seize the moment, and you have a moment?
Yeah.
What if
this was before now? Let's say this is a matter of years ago, and actually it was a strange one, whereby.
Was it on social media?
No, but he emailed me, but because he obviously got my email address from my birth sister, but a birth niece of mine follows me on social media.
Oh, and how do you feel about that?
Oh, great. I mean, but she sent me a DM one day, and it was like, "Hi, Paul. Look, this might be a bit forward or it might be a bit strange, but actually, I'm your niece." And like, of all DMs I get, that was
do you read all your DMs? You read mine. I'm always DMing you.
Yeah, but like, anyway, that was a particular DM that I don't know if I got back to her or not, but I thought it was interesting.
Okay, so you have a niece and a brother that you haven't met, but you have the chance to meet them.
Oh, I've, as you saw in the letter, that side of the family is huge. Look, let's just say, I know. Look, the mother, not meeting the mother, I can tell you now, was a big mistake. In terms of the other siblings, like, it's a huge family.
But what about your father?
The father just fled.
Did he?
I believe it was just a kind of a one night.
Okay, don't say that.
Well, that's probably what it was. I mean,
okay, but that's speculation.
It is. It is pure speculation.
You need to maybe take your own advice as well.
Yeah, I do.
You do. But that's a lot, Paul. That's a lot.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot. But look, I think it needed to be told. And again, it's all about removing the stigma of, like, I think it's important to just talk about it.
It is, 100%.
You know, this isn't something that should be brushed under the carpet. Let's talk about it. There's nothing wrong with being adopted at all.
No.
So.
Okay. Are you all right?
I'm delighted and excited.
Are you? Okay, good. All right.
Folks, thank you for watching this episode of Moose on the Loose podcast. If by any chance you were affected by anything that we spoke about, please visit my Instagram page, and on the page you have the Linktree link where some support is available to you.